Hey guys, it's Gwynaire here from Defy Reality Entertainment, and I want to go through the new test build of the Watchtower, or Watchtower as I've come to call it. This was designed from sort of beginning of September towards mid-November, if I remember correctly, and I released, I think, back in November time, onto Patreon only, and I'm currently giving this away as a December special Christmas offer on Patreon, and so it's really cool for people to experience this themselves, to get a bit of a taste of the game. But I thought it'd be really cool to upload a commentary playthrough of me playing the game, and then talking not just about the game but talking about what went into it, and yeah, my ideas behind certain things, and various different things that will come up as I'm playing it, things that I probably don't even think about now. So we're gonna go straight ahead and play it. Just saying that this screen here was one of the last things I actually designed for the test build, and I even had a play credits button and everything, but I just thought, keep it simple, we just need a play button for this. Neyyah will definitely have save and load options within the game, obviously. Again, this is a very basic little test build, so there's no save or load options in this. And here we are, we're inside Neyyah. So one of the cool things about doing these little test builds is experimenting with new features. One of the first things I loved about doing the first test build I did in 2018, that was the first one I did, was just seeing the artwork come to life in a game, in a gameplay perspective. So you can literally turn around and see all the angles of the environment that you're in. And I think that's just one of the most fulfilling parts of the work that I do, is not, it's creating all the the complex artwork, the constructions, and seeing the world come to life, but it's actually just being able to. I think Robin Miller from back in the day in Cyan, in the Cyan days, when he was part of Cyan, he mentioned that it was like looking through a window into the world that you're creating. You're looking into the world in front of you, and it's like that every time I render an image. Obviously nowadays I can render preview render things as well, which is really cool, so I can actually see things in real time rendering through the SQIRLZ rendering engine in Blender, so that's pretty cool too. But you can never beat a render, and that's what I love about these pre-rendered games, is that they're windows into the world. And I think they get you thinking in a different way too. Logically, your brain is looking at everything differently compared to a real-time game. Neyyah is definitely specifically made for that pre-rendered Riven-esque style game. So I'm just turning around here. Another element for this test build, particularly that I wanted to implement into this particular test build, was the water animation. Well, that was a long sentence. So here I'm actually using a slightly different water animation technique. I'm using a software called SQIRLZ Water Reflections. I can't remember how I came across the software now, but I was on the internet and I'd been meaning to look for something that was different, that would create a different effect to what I'd already created back in the 2019 SporeDocs test build. And that was a cool milestone, being able to create water animations within the new game engine Visionaire Studio 5. That was cool for that time, but I wasn't very satisfied with the look of the water, and so with SQIRLZ Water Reflections I just found they were better. It reminded me a lot more of the kind of water shimmers that you see in Riven. And I still think Riven had the best water animation and look out of all the Myst games. So I was very happy when I saw the results of what SQIRLZ could do. I also use Adobe After FX as well. I have to do a lot of masking. It can be quite a sort of tedious process actually. Each image that has water in it has to be obviously rendered out as such, and then it has to you have to use a black and white kind of technique where you take away the land and only the ocean is present, and from there I can then add the water reflections, which is saved as a series of about maybe possibly between 5 and 10 different frames, which is then applied onto the rendered image within the software, the game engine. So it's very cool. The key thing is getting it really close, really nice and close to the surfaces. The one thing you can't do is, as such, is get a really nice effect of the water splashing up against the surfaces of the actual land. That's the only downside. But apart from that, it doesn't overlap any of the part of the image that it shouldn't do. So it does a pretty good job, I think. Especially for the style of game that Neyyah is, and it's, you know, mist influence as well. It's cool. So yeah, this is the little area. You can't go that way. A lot of people have wanted to, who have played this little test build or have seen it anyway, they want to be able to see more, they want to be able to explore more, and you can't do that in this little test build. So it would have taken a lot longer to be able to render these images as well, and there's not much point for what I wanted to showcase. So, and as you can see here, a lot of the scene at the time when I rendered these images weren't finished. These are still the blocked out models that I created back in, it might have been about June time this year, I think. And here you got a bit of architecture this was from the beginning of the year, possibly March time. This is a part of the scene that is actually over here. So I just took that and put it over here, and I use a lot of reference models in the game when I'm sort of planning out things. I take things from other areas and just throw them in. I think, yeah, that'd be cool, we'll work on that later. It kind of gets the job done nicely, and visually it's a good enough template for me to work on. I am going to be talking about quite a few things in this actually. I mean, it's stuff that will come across, you'll see in a lot of the Neyyah artwork as well. Detail. One of the key things I love about Neyyah is the attention to detail, and that's what I loved about Riven and all those games, and that's my main drive is as a 3D environmental designer, is being able to throw as much detail into the scenes as possible, without making everything too cluttered. That's something I've kind of learnt along the way, and how to be able to squeeze detail into pockets, and so then you can spread things around and everything looks, I guess you could say, composed, but obviously looks real at the same time. That's the balance. Little things like ripped rope hanging from the little hooks. I'll do things like the hooks might even be coming out of the structure. Small tiny things that you wouldn't even notice. I also do some bizarre things. I'll have screws that are, you know, in a bit of metal, and instead of the screws being all the same kind of direction, I'll actually excuse me, I'll actually turn some of the screws so they look like they've been tightened in different directions. Usually I do that for closer inspections. Anyway, I'll just go back over here, and you can actually, this is one of the cool things I added. So this test build is a lot about sound and visual, and I decided instead of adding a soundtrack that would play through the whole thing, it'd be really cool to just add spurts of sound and music throughout the test build, which is a lot more effective actually, specifically in certain areas. Some areas of the game will need more music, other areas won't, and I think these exterior areas are all about sound. And one of the things about, you know, creating a static image slideshow game like this is sound is so important, and like I knew it was important from the get-go anyway, but when I start recording the sounds and mixing the sounds and, you know, producing the sounds, and then seeing how they can be put together in the engine, it seems to obviously add life to these static images. You've got the animations of the water anyway, and there will be other animations maybe of birds flying a bit more in the game. But one comment I had recently was that it doesn't feel like it's a static area that you're in. It doesn't feel static anymore. So yeah, we'll just we'll go through here. So with Neyyah, it's not just about static images. One thing I really want to try and push a bit more than maybe Riven even did, and the original Mist did, is adding a lot more cinematic sequences, so you can move through the environment. And it's kind of a balance really, and knowing where to put those. And I've already planned out where they would go, pretty much in certain parts of the game. But I think it's definitely down to experimentation still, and seeing how well they work for certain things. Climbing ladders, stairways, that kind of thing is kind of a must. This kind of just works really well. You can skip them as well. So I've got a, you can go down here and skip an animation. So that's pretty cool. That way you can get through them. And I think it's kind of very Dragon Lore 2 Schism influenced as well. So one thing I do focus on as well is sound, like I've mentioned, and how sound changes throughout the environment. When you're down here, the sound will be a bit less, it'll be the plopping of the waves is more prominent. When you're up here, you're going to have a higher sound of the rush of the waves, of the distant surf, and the plopping is now lower. So that's actually triggered by the hotspots themselves. It actually changes the volumes of the sound as you play. New sounds might come in as well, and it's very important to fade those out, and that's actually done in various different ways. With Visionaire, there's a way of being able to do that. I kind of use, I'll actually go into Visionaire itself and show you a couple of things. So for now, I'll just I'll keep playing the game. One thing I have been told is that the cursors aren't very clear. These are actually just generic cursors that I got. I think it was from like a sort of like a demo that came with Visionaire, or you can download from the Visionaire page, and they're just basic cursors that won't be in the final build at all. I'll be creating Neyyah style cursors, and you can't really tell if you need to look down or up as such. You can look down there, but when you're facing down, there's no, it looks like you can just go forward, right? So those kind of things are definitely going to be changed within the game. The water animations also change as well, depending on height, so the waves will be bigger or smaller depending on how high you are, and that's done within SQIRLZ as well. So SQIRLZ Water Reflections. I think this kind of thing is just, yeah, this makes it. Seeing long distance shots like these, this is what really gets me going when I'm designing, because I can remember how long it took to make that tower and that tower next to it and this bit and this building over here, and when you see it all come together, it's like, oh my god. And because of the system I've got, there are ways of obviously being able to cut down render times, but I don't have to do too much to be able to render all the details in one scene, which is really cool. So yeah, let's enter the building. So, very interesting. Suddenly we can hear there's the water just about in the background. You've got the sound of the wind now. You had the eerie sound come in. For me, that eerie sound was, I think it was a kind of a mistake that I made with one of the sounds I was mixing at the time, and I thought it'd be really cool to bring that in and have that play only the once, because if you go back outside, which is going to lead me onto something else if I do that, but I'll leave that for in a minute. It creates an atmosphere, basically. It's a really cool transition of going from outside into inside whilst hearing the sounds of the birds in the background. It was also influenced by a game called Dark 4, an amazing game, really cool game, developed by a guy called Jonathan Boakes, and also has connections with a guy called Matt Clark, and they both make incredible games. And I was playing those Dark Fall games at the time, and yeah, I just thought, wow, it'd be cool to add this sort of a creepy, spooky element into certain environments within the game, particularly interiors. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of play with that a bit more, especially for caves, and because of Neyyah's very kind of abandoned, weathered, derelict kind of look, it's just going to work so well. I'm not saying it's going to be a horror game or anything like that, but it's just going to have a nice transition of moods and atmospheres as well. I mean, this is a cool test. This was satisfying to work with. You can actually see, if you look carefully enough, the light changes from bright to dull, which is kind of an effect from using volumetrics within the 3D software, but then also being able to edit frames to brighten up the light so that it looks like the clouds are changing outside and going past the sun, which is a really cool technique. It changes here too. Whether or not it's very noticeable or not is a different story, but you can see it brightens now and again. So that's something I would like to kind of maybe push a bit more and see if I can get some really cool effects. But then again, sometimes less is best. So yeah, this is a cool scene. So that was what you see there is pretty much one of the first creature animal interactions I've ever done for Neyyah, and it's very small, but it's pretty effective, and kind of goes back into that kind of suspense feel that this scene is creating. The birds flying past really quickly, probably catching you off guard, and you know, kind of adding to the elements of the bird sounds that you can hear in the background anyway. So birds are around, and yeah, I thought it was really cool. And it only plays once, and it's the same for that sound I was talking about earlier. Now and again you can hear the sound of the sea. You're high up, you're outside, completely different atmosphere. It's like you're taking a breath of fresh air, and then it's like, oh god, I'm going back in here. So, and again, that sound doesn't come back, only plays once. I think it's cool to have certain sounds play here and there and not repeat all the time. I think it's sort of, yeah, does some cool, creates a cool atmosphere. I love the sound of metal sounds and doors and stuff. So a lot of the sounds I'm using here are from Australia, when I lived in Western Australia, in Mandurah, and I recorded a lot of sounds where I was living at the time, in and outside of the house. I had like a small recording studio, so I could do these kind of things very easily. Now I'm living in the UK, I don't have the recording facilities as such, but I will be investing in more audio-based equipment and music-based equipment. The music as well are composed in Western Australia. Some of the sounds for this test build, because of those reasons, I did source from like I think it was freemusic.org or something like that. I'll be tagging it in the description anyway, but and it's credited on the actual playthrough video, and there's some really cool sounds, and then you take them away, you edit them, you can chop them up and put effects on them. You can make them sound pretty good, but most of the sounds for Neyyah will be created by myself. So yeah, it's just cool, the little details of things creaking and the hit of the metal there being a bit fainter because it's further up, and it's going to be louder if it's coming down. So all those little attentions to detail, which I really enjoy, and I think that's just an awesome view as well. So yeah, pretty cool. Actually, this image here took ages to get right. All the artwork in Neyyah is post-processed through Photoshop. I have a massive list of effects that I just create an action for, press a button, it can do it for like 1,000 images. I could just apply all those effects to 1,000 images with a click of a button. So it's really cool. But when it comes to interiors like this, the lighting is so different that those effects don't work, and I had to get this particular image, took a long time to get right, to actually kind of transition from this scene here, where actually the ladder is actually a lot more visible, and to this scene. And I guess it works because you're going into a lot more of a shaded area, but it's nice to work on that consistency a bit more, obviously, in the main game. To be honest, some of those things might not even be very noticeable anyway, but it's kind of the perfectionist streak in me, I suppose. So that was really enjoyable. Creating those, I think that's one of my favourite animations in this. It was really fun coming up with the sounds for that, being able to hear the creaking of the ladder, also going through the light rays as well, and then the wind rush of like going into this upstairs area, up ladder area. So here I can turn around and I'm inside you could call it an interior area, but it still has external light sources. It's not like you're in the dark completely, there's still a lot of sunlight coming in, but it's really atmospheric. I actually enjoyed working on this scene, and I thought it'd be great to use this as a test build example. And there we have another bird. Now we've got the sound of the water coming through. Another great view again. I have worked a lot more on the mist pass, which is an effect that creates a day haze basically in Blender, and it would be more effective obviously, and it was so frustrating when I released this test build. I already had this entire area, harbour area, finished. The walls are finished and everything, so I just had to keep it as it is, and it's a cool milestone in the development. And it's quite easy coming up with the areas to walk around as well. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes basically, each one facing north, east, south and west. So I can go to say this, I can't remember the actual labels I gave them now, because I also count from how far node 1 started over here. So I can't remember. Let's say that was 1, that's 2, 3, 4 and 5. I can go over to 2. I can turn around and see everything from every perspective. I can do the same thing over here. But I can also look up as well. And looking up in certain areas might not make much of a difference, but it can show a bit of game environmental storytelling, and also clues as well. So certain things will be quite important to do within the game when you're exploring. You can obviously look down as well, go back to the trapdoor. One thing I didn't do is create a system where wherever you look down at the trapdoor, you'll go straight back to the area that you're in. You go down and look at the trapdoor, you'll always end up in this perspective, which is a bit disorientating, which is something I'm not, I'm looking at putting a bit more time into making sure that it makes more sense. Because the last thing I want to do, especially in this kind of game, is disorientate the player any more than they might potentially get disorientated, especially with the point-and-click navigation. So yeah, we can look outside. The sound has changed. One of my favourite views as well. A lot going on here. Really cool working on the water effects for this as well. Looks really cool. Yeah, one of my favourite scenes. It's just great being able to hear the sounds coming, and now you've suddenly got the interior sound. So yeah. Now you can hear that the engine's a lot louder. This is on as well. If I go back over here, this lever is turned to the left and the pipe is leading out to this device here. The great thing about these games as well is the logical side of observing your environment. And I think that was the great thing about Riven, is that you can see a pipe. Oh, I can't see where it's going, so I'll turn left, and there it is, coming right round there. And one of the key things as well about turning left and right is that they particularly spent a lot of time on things that would be on the left hand side of the image that would indicate that you can turn left or you can turn right, left. And yeah, that's something I definitely think about when I'm rendering these images. Little hints of what you can see if you turn in that direction. So there, this is on. I can turn the sleeve up. So one thing about Visionaire as well is that the sounds don't actually loop. They loop, all the sounds loop, but they don't continue after an animation is played. So what I actually create is a sound image that appears straight after the animation plays, that triggers the sounds to play, and that basically goes straight to the next image that you can interact with. So it's a little trick I came up with to get around that. And you know, it's cool. It'd be great if I could maybe improve that some way down the line, but it's a way of getting around that little problem. Music plays continuously from another buffer, but the sounds come from a different source. So yeah, we can press this button. And this is just an example of how a small little thing like that has a big sound, because even though it's just the button being pressed like so, but what's happening within that device, what's happening over there, you know, when you back over here you can see the system over here. What's actually happening over there? What have you done? What effect does it cause for that? And what's happening in this device here? What's inside? Well, we can't see, you know, but something does exist. And I think that's one of the key things about the way I work, is that even though you can't see things, they still exist, and sound can bring life to that. So I love being able to add the detail into all the sounds, and well, create more of an immersive experience through that. Sound is a really important part of this this process of creating a game like Neyyah. Bing. I'm not going to add any bing sounds into this game, like in the original Myst when you're in the what's the Selentic age. Take that bit out. So now we've diverted some power. There's different sounds going on now. You go over here, that engine sound's gone. You can pull a lever, nothing's happening. That was a nice thick button sound as well. I was really happy when I came up with that. A lot of reverb gets used, which is basically a sound effect that creates more presence to a sound. It's not such like an echo or a delay, but it's like if you're in a big hall and you can hear the sound reverberating through the hall, like a church, or you know, it adds some really nice presence. Well, we have this device over here now. What's this? So this is another example of music having an effect on a scene and being used in small areas of the scene to add effect, atmosphere. Could be a key, could be a clue, could be something that's quite important in the game that the player should really take note of. I think mainly though it's more to do with the story, and obviously it comes to themes as well. So I'm only using a very limited amount of music that I've recorded and unable to record now, so music will be another world to explore and really fine tune and create themes for different elements of the game. You know, it's gonna be really cool. Another example of things happening inside the device that you can't see, but something's shifting, clicks and stuff. I love that. And you can look out here as well, so each window you can look out of. Very unfinished scene. This scene here, actually, I started developing that in March 2019. Around March, February 2019. And a lot of this is actually going to be edited still as well, but it's coming along nicely. The water is still animated here as well. You go back here, the music doesn't play anymore, but you can still observe things. And nothing is, you know, you can't solve any puzzles within this test build, but the area of this particular island in the game, I really wanted to bring out and render some images and put them together, get some sounds together, get some animations together, and it kind of became a little test build that I was willing to share as well, and put a bit of time into, because it's pushing other things forward as well, you know. So yeah. I think one of the fun things, like going up ladders and stuff, is timing. Imagining where the player's feet will be on the rails, where will their hands be as they're coming down, what kind of sounds would they cause. And I think if you can really visualize that and then nail it visually and audibly as well, you can create a really cool effect. By this point I will be trying to work out what things have I changed in the environment, and they'll be a bit more clear, you know, when everything's finished. I mean, here you've got these two pipes that are leading out, right? So where do they go? Well, this one doesn't go anywhere at the moment, and this one sort of doesn't go anywhere at all at the moment either. They're very unfinished, or were very unfinished. So yeah, this is a cool little test build, and it's been really cool talking to you about my process behind it all, and the things that are, you know, that I've included and what to showcase within this particular test build. And yeah, talking about the sounds, mainly the sounds, and how it's really going to shape the game. So yeah, very excited about that. So here we have an example in Visionaire of a animation going straight to a sound slide, and the animation, this is where the hotspots, everything is generated. So certain sounds play and loop, an animation is triggered, it has to be brought from the animation itself, which is here. So one thing this scene does is that it fades out a bit of music to 96 decibels, basically fades it right out, and that happens before the animation plays. So if that bit of music is playing, it will fade it out slowly, and then the animation plays, so it's not a sudden change within the gameplay. It doesn't sound too jarring. There's a lot of sounds that play first. Sometimes these sounds have been mixed together, just because in certain instances sound after an animation plays, the sounds have to fade away, and the engine sometimes won't fade all those sounds in. The engine won't fade them out all in one go, and it's best to kind of mix those sounds together as one file. That's just done, actually, funny enough, using OBS Sound Studio. I got around that by recording what was on the screen with those particular sounds that I need to fade, saved it as a video file, extracted the sound, and then took away the actual video, and then I had my sounds in one file. And that works a lot quicker. The engine's able to deal with that a lot faster, so there's a lot of sounds suddenly coming in here, and then the animation plays, and then it switches to the sound slide. Now the sound slide basically is kind of like a little bridge that enables me to get to the next scene after an animation, which I mentioned before in this video. And from here basically I can go from straight from the animation, go straight to this scene. This activates when the cursor, the mouse, is anywhere in the image. It goes straight from here to the sound activation, and can also play a sound as well. I can do whatever I want in this bit here, but this will go to sound activation, gates on sound activation, so we'll go straight to here. And from here, at the beginning of the scene, it will play all these sounds, and that sets up for what was playing before the animation started. So that enables me to have more of a continuous loop of sound, because as mentioned, the sounds stop straight after an animation plays within Visionaire, and this is a way of being able to get around that, and it works quite nicely as well. So that's the sound activation stuff. So thanks for watching and listening, guys. This is the kind of the first video I've done where I've actually commented and talked about the test build, any test build that I've done. So I hope to be doing more of these along the way, and also just being able to talk about the artwork and maybe about the sound recording and other things about Visionaire as I design the game, and just being able to talk a bit more about that, and also, you know, for future tutorials or that kind of stuff that I would like to get into down the track in the future. But yeah, it's just great being able to talk to you guys about it, and just giving you a bit more of a developer's perspective on things. It's funny, you see the things put together and it's like, wow, you know, it's such a small little build, but it actually takes a lot of, it can take a while to get things working, because it's not just the visuals, it's the puzzle elements as well. Even though there's no puzzles in this, the scenes have to change according to the actions that you create, and it's not just that, but it's also the audio as well. That is part of it. You know, the audio changes with the actions you create within the game, and conditions are used, true or false conditions, and it's fairly straightforward compared to most engines. But it still takes a little while to get around, so it's just really fun to get into, and it's a challenge at times, and yeah, it's just been really cool. So thanks for watching, and I thought I'd quickly show you this little clip of something I'm working on at the moment. Again, not so much of a test build, but just a little snippet of seeing something in action. This hasn't been uploaded anywhere yet, so enjoy this exclusive little view into another part of Neyyah. Ta-da! And that's that. Till next time. Bye!